One second. One second. We're live.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's meeting of Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm Judge Executive David Bogle. Happy to have you here today. We're on streaming mode today rather than live on Channel 25 because of the coronavirus. We hope our meeting is clearly understood, and that if you have any questions, you're invited to, I believe, send them to us on a chat line. I'm not exactly sure. Somebody will probably have to tell me how that works, but I believe that you could, if you wanted to, I guess, go on Facebook and maybe access the chat line question under our Facebook presentation here. So now that we're all here, let's all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now I'll ask our fiscal court clerk, Denise Clark, please call the roll.
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins.
Here.
Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logston.
Here.
Judge Bogle.
Here. Having all members of the fiscal court, 8 of the 9 members of the fiscal court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Would anyone like anything added to the agenda? All right, hearing nothing, I'll close that and go on to the reading of our minutes from November 3rd and November 5th. Denise.
November 3rd, 2020, the Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a regular meeting at 2 p.m. with Judge Executive David Bogle, Assistant County Attorney Tate Combs, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Albert Harrison, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Logston and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the meeting minutes from October 20, 2020. Motion carried 7-0-1. Magistrate Likens abstained. Public comment, none. Judge Vogel announced that Sisters Reagan and Ryland Richens behind the Be Kind signs throughout Oldham County were featured on the Today Show on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. The following sealed bids were received and opened for the Digital Message Center. The companies submitting bids for 4x8s for roof sign, Louisville, 6mm, $38,269. 8mm, $26,240. Commonwealth Signs, Louisville, 10mm, $21,149.61. 8mm, $23,649.61. 6mm, $26,149.61. Golden Rule Signs, Louisville, 10mm, $22,789.27. 6mm, $25,487. Mega LED Commerce, California, 10mm, $14,588.50. 6mm, $16,235.60. Hadley Sign, Pendleton, 10mm, $22,760. 6mm, $31,790. The following companies submitted bids for 4-foot 2-inch by 8-foot 5-inch signs. Commonwealth Sign, Louisville, 10mm, $24,514.61. 6mm, $35,335.86. The The following companies submitted bids for 5x10 signs. Roof sign Louisville, 8mm, $32,867. Commonwealth sign Louisville, 10mm, $29,274.61. 8mm, $32,399.61. 6mm, $35,524.61. Golden Rule signs Louisville, 10mm, $31,078.55. And 6mm, $32,205. I2 Visual Inc., Fort Myers, Florida, 6mm, $67,400. Mega LED Commerce, California, 10mm, $19,639.50. 6mm, $21,955.80. Hadley sign Pendleton, 10mm, $27,965. 6mm, $39,390. The following companies submitted bids for 5 foot by 3 inch by 5 foot 3 inch by 10 foot 6 inch signs. Commonwealth sign Louisville, 10mm, $34,053.36. 6mm, $47,957.56. Motion made by Magistrate Loxton and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the payables as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. The following county employees from Planning and Development Services presented information regarding the dilapidated structure at 6533 Jacob Drive in Westport. Jim Urban, Director of Planning and Development Services. Mark Tice, Chief Building Inspector. Chris Clark, Code Enforcement Officer. Doris Brown, one of the owners of 6533 Jacob Drive, and Steve Hall, the owner's representative, were sworn in to provide testimony. Motion made by Magistrate Harrison and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to declare the property at 6533 Jacob Drive in Westport a dilapidated structure that is a hazard to public health and safety and the welfare of the residents in the neighborhood as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Harrison and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to authorize the judge executive to sign the executive order as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried 8-1. Magistrate Hawkins voted no. Contracts resolutions. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell on the endorsement of the Road Committee to adopt the resolution and approve the execution of the Rural Secondary Funding Agreement between KYTC and Oldham County Fiscal Court for Valley Drive Bridge as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously on a roll call vote. Motion made by Magistrate Loxton and seconded by Magistrate Hounds to allow the judge executive to sign the agreement with Bacon Farmer Workmen for design and engineering services for a multi-use trail segment along Old LaGrange Road in the amount of $245,157 as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried 7-2. The following magistrates voted no: Greenwell and Tice. Committee recommendations reports. Road Committee. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell on the endorsement of the Road Committee and upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $24,232 performance bond for Poplar Woods Section 4B as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell on the endorsement of the Road Committee and upon the recommendation of the county engineer to accept Poplar Leaf Lane, a 1,400 linear foot roadway, into the county road maintenance system, starting at Poplar Woods Drive and ending at Poplar Woods Drive as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell on the endorsement of the Road Committee and upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the following erosion control bonds as submitted. $22,100 for Poplar Woods Section 4B. Motion carried unanimously. $4,294 for 2905 to 2909 East Highway 146. Motion carried unanimously. Human Resource Committee. Motion made by Magistrate Loxton on the endorsement of the Human Resource Committee to accept the benefit renewal for 2021 as submitted and to allow the judge executive to sign all paperwork relating to the renewal. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions, dispatch. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Dye to hire Ashley Reyna Padilla as telecommunicator 1 at $17.69 an hour, effective 11/9/2020 as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Planning and Development Services, motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the termination of John Booth effective 10/30/2020 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Board appointments, motion made by Judge Bogle and seconded by Magistrate Likens to appoint Jean Jenkins to the Extension District Board with a term to expire 12/31/2022 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to reappoint Oscar Harrington to the Police Merit Board with a term to expire 11/6/2024 as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment none. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 4:05 p.m.
You've heard the
Minute-
reading of our minutes from November 3rd. Is there a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now Denise, will you proceed with the reading of the minutes from November 5th?
The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a special meeting at 9 a.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Albert Harrison, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logston. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the agenda as submitted. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment none. Community business, motion made and amended by Magistrate Likens and seconded by Magistrate Logston to approve funding up to $2,410,000 to incorporate the historic section of the existing courthouse into the new Oldham County Courthouse if the state legislature does not increase the currently authorized annual use allowance. Discussion followed. Motion carried on a roll call vote 6-3. The following magistrates voted no: Dye, Harrison, and Tice. Contracts resolutions, motion made by Magistrate Hounds and seconded by Magistrate Tice to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the amendment with RCS Communications in the amount of $7,853 as submitted. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment none. Motion made by Magistrate Dye and seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 10:11 a.m.
You've heard the reading of our minutes from November 5th. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion or corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right, normally at this time in our meeting, we'd have a public comment, but given the fact that we're on Zoom, don't know if, is there any member of the public here who would like to make a comment? I'll go ahead and close the public comment then. I want to please for the clerk to note that Magistrate Harrison joined us here during the minutes. Maybe you didn't see exactly what time you were able to get on, Magistrate, but we'll say you're on here at 2:15. Does that sound about right?
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go on. The first item on the agenda here today is a bid award for a digital message center. I've sent out the announcement of this to award this bid to Commonwealth Signs of Louisville for two 5x10 8mm message boards for $62,788.99. These boards would be placed in two locations, one at First and Main in LaGrange, near the, in the Oldham County parking lot there. Not exactly at the same place the other message center was placed. This one would be a little bit further back and to the north in the lot. The other message center would be at River Bluff and 42, where the current static board is located. As I mentioned in the communication that I sent out to all magistrates, these boards are, the expense of these boards is covered by outside funding. We've had donations for the board in LaGrange from the Head Trust, from KIPTA and the Ironman Foundation. And the CARES Act money has been approved by the Department of Local Government as an expense for the board on Highway 42. So there isn't any county money involved in purchasing these boards. I think they'll be very helpful to our community. Our previous boards have been, which we still have 3 locations out there, have been limited by the inability to present more than one message over the course of a week or 2 weeks. Each one of the messages that have appeared on those boards have cost somewhere between $80 and $110 to create for either the fiscal court or the organization that asked to participate on the board. Those boards have been limited. The participation has been limited to groups that had some sort of county-wide activity underway or county-wide message that we thought was important to be exposed to as many people as possible. Yeah. As we all know here, we operate with a weekly newspaper, and we have no radio station in this community. We have Facebook, which is a form of communication, but not particularly effective for everyone. And so I think these message centers will allow us to store and present over a period of time a number of important messages for our community in regard to community events and other messages of the fiscal court. This morning we were talking about the survey for the parks, trying to communicate with people that we have a parks survey underway. We just spent somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 sending postcards to everybody in Oldham County, asking them to participate in our internet study. These are attempts that we make to communicate with people. There isn't one, obviously, one way that gets everyone, but it's important to have in a place where there is no daily radio station, a place to have a place where literally thousands of people could pick up a message. In these 2 locations, there are thousands of people that would go by each day and have the opportunity to see what the current message would be. Of course, the most current and critical message that we have in our community is how to deal with the coronavirus. The health department has asked everyone, and through the governor, was asked everyone to social distance, to wash your hands frequently, and to wear masks. I think we've all gotten that message. Not everybody has acted on that message, but I think for the most part, people in our community are cooperating. The places that I find myself, Kroger, Walmart, Tractor Supply, the drugstores, any place along that line, virtually everybody I see in those stores, from the people that work there to the people who are shopping and visiting those locations, masks are very, very evident. I rarely see someone who is attempting to defy that. People come outside of these stores, take off their mask right away, and I can't honestly object to that myself. I think if you're outside, or you're in your car by yourself, I guess you can wear a mask for your own satisfaction and safety in your own mind. Personally, I'm not sure that is that beneficial, but definitely when you're around people, it is. Now, we all have heard in the last maybe 2 or 3 days that several virus or vaccines are going to be forthcoming. It's going to be very important for our health department to be able to communicate clearly, quickly, and effectively with as many people as possible on when the vaccines will be available, where they'll be available, any other pertinent information the health department wants to be able to communicate. In my estimation, we do not have as good a position or opportunity in our community right now to protect people as we could have with the locations of these boards in, in high traffic areas. They're going to be seen, people can read them, they'll be easily read, and to be able to react to whatever the health department wants. And I hope this vaccine can be out as quick as possible. We don't know. We have no idea how this is going to unfold. I was asked this morning by the Courier Journal what I anticipate the governor's orders tomorrow or later today are going to be. I think he's laying down the gauntlet. I'm sympathetic with the fact that he is the person that is the point person for trying to determine what's best and steer our state toward a lower positivity rate. Whether or not he's doing the right thing is something we can all debate individually, but none of us have that weight on our shoulders. So we don't know what's coming. We do know that being able to communicate quickly and effectively with large numbers of people is going to be something that's very important. So I'm asking to have these boards approved today.
Judge, I'd like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this?
And
Magistrate
one
Harrison.
question.
Oops, pardon?
One.
I saw Magistrate Harrison's hand first.
I'm sorry, he's not on my screen.
Okay.
Yes,
Maybe,
thank you.
yeah.
I believe in your comments, you referenced one of the boards being located at First and Main in Jefferson. That should be First and Jefferson in LaGrange.
Sorry.
Not-
You're correct. Thank you. Magistrate Likens.
Yes, Judge, why did we pick the 8mm sign instead of the 6 or a 10?
Well, I picked the 8 because of the fact that it is I've looked at this really as hard as I can and studied it, and I believe the clarity is going to be good. The 6mm would be a little bit better clarity, not a tremendous amount. I think Lester Lemaster is on here. He might be able to speak to that. That was his advice, was the 8 would be do a good job. It's a little less expensive than the 6. The 10mm, was less clarity. The arrangements of the pixels in the sign has to do with the distance between pixels, and the closer they are, the more definition can be given to any letter or any drawing or any design that's on that board. Lester, would you agree with that?
I would. Yes, the pixel spacing is the lower the number, the higher the resolution. But also, if you go to a larger sign like you are looking at the 5x10, I would rather have a 5x10 for the money in an 8mm as a 4x8 in a 6. So the clarity, the 8mm, I believe, is a good fit. It's really high resolution, and Judge Vogel's he knows about as much about LED signs as I do. He's been looking at this for 4 years. And so I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins.
The one on the corner there, that we would call that intersection in LaGrange, would you say that's in the city of LaGrange?
No. Well, it's in the city of LaGrange. It's Oldham County property.
Okay. On our sign regulations, there is something called the sight triangle at intersecting streets. It says the clear sight triangle shall be maintained at all street intersections for a minimum of 50 feet as measured along the curb or pavement edge. I don't believe the placement of this sign allows for that sight triangle. There's also within the city of LaGrange, albeit outside the historic part of LaGrange, where the square footage max at any point, the max is 40 square feet. I believe the one proposed is 50 square feet. And in addition to all that, I believe that intersection there is our, as another magistrate put it, our doorstep into LaGrange. It's our doorstep into historic Main Street of LaGrange. We just spent a lot of money to keep the historic look of the yard kitty corner to that. And I don't think that this is going to be helpful in promoting the historic Main Street LaGrange, and I don't think it's a good fit for that area. But furthermore, I don't think it meets the site distance guidelines. It can't be grandfathered in because there's nothing there anymore. It was all taken out to put in the streetlights. So those are my comments on that.
Okay, my response is that the Oldham County government is not subject to any restrictions from planning and zoning over the LaGrange Historic District. Got the Attorney General's opinion says that we're not subject to any of that. So that argument is moot. I'm not sure exactly which property you're saying you spend a lot of money on restoring historically. It's certainly not the first three houses down from Jefferson on First Street heading toward Maine. Those are all, let's say, modest looking structures that could certainly stand a fair amount of improvement in my point of view. I don't think this is going to ruin the downtown historic district at all. We're building a new courthouse across the street. We're trying to get people to interact in this community. Communication has been a problem in this town, in this county since I've lived there. I don't see where this is going to hurt a bit. I didn't hear anyone objecting to a digital sign at the Christian church next door to the fiscal court building. I've heard zero about it. Seems to be functioning fine. No one has objected to me about it. All I can say is I think this is a good time to put this up and try this out. If it turns out to be a failure, the next county judge can take it down and move it. It's not, none of our decisions are completely irrevocable here, but all I know is that I think this would be good. I'm planning on putting a flower, I can't think of the correct term, a planter underneath the thing with some bollards in there, just to protect it from any stray vehicle that may get off the road. We'll decorate it and make it a nice presentation. It's not meant to be the worst looking digital sign you've ever seen. It looked no different than the billboard we had up there prior. We had a billboard up there for several years. No one objected to that whatsoever. But it's not to sit in the same location. It's to sit a little bit further back in the lot and to the north or east side a little bit, north and east somewhat. So it's not going to be in the same spot the other one was in. A number of people have asked me if we're ever going to bring back that other one we had. It communicated with people, let them know events were going on. We had to take it down because we put the street lights up there, or I mean the traffic lights. So now I agree. Probably not everybody will like it. You can't get everybody to like everything, no matter what you do. But I'd say it's certainly worth a try. And if it gets to be a huge objection from a lot of people, and I don't mean just the most vocal 10 or 12 in the range, then we can reconsider it. But when I mentioned it to the mayor and talked to the city council of River Bluff about it, they were very excited to have that there because they realize that their location, communication is very difficult. Things happen. Farmers markets happen over there. People don't know about them. Things happen at the churches over there, at the community, and there's just activity that is missed because people hear about it after the fact. So I can accept the fact that you may think it's going to be an eyesore, but we're going to make sure it's not. We're going to do our best. And as I mentioned, the messages that are put up are not intended to roll over quickly. A message might come up and stay for anywhere from 2.5 to 5 minutes. It just looked like a sign, okay? But something else could easily roll off and replace it. But would give us the opportunity to have a number of messages that we can't serve people now when people call and say, I'd like to be on that board. but I'm sorry, somebody else has already asked for it 3 months ago. You know, you're out of luck. We'll be able to serve a lot more people through this method.
May I respond?
Sure.
The cost I was talking about was specifically the courthouse cost to move the old historic portion of the courthouse in order to salvage the historic aspect of it. And that was the part where we just spent a lot of money and trying to move that. And I feel like putting a sign in kitty corner to that, that's so modern. It's very 2020. Across the street from that historic, that beautiful historic building that we've just paid a lot of money to save, is kind of putting the cart before the horse. Maybe get the building up and finished, moved, all that's going on there. Do around both of the buildings with landscaping and new sidewalks and whatnot. And then see if the sign, the digital sign, would fit into that atmosphere. Another thing though, I don't think it plays well to break our own Oldham County sign regulations as far as the site triangle goes. And being that that space is within the city of LaGrange limits, I also don't think it plays well to just violate those sign regulations just because we're the government and we can. It does violate our own Oldham County sign regulations.
Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. Couple of comments related to that. There's another entity here in the county that is exempt from the regulations, and that's the Board of Education. We have an excellent example of that west on Jefferson Street, where if you don't make the turn, you run into a digital sign. It's one of the most annoying signs in the county because it's directly in the forward view of traffic proceeding west. I don't see that there's that much harm coming from what we're considering now. Secondly, we did not spend any money to date on relocating the historic part of the courthouse. We agreed at our last meeting to spend up to a given sum, should that not be funded by the legislature when it comes back into session. So technically, we've not spent anything yet. Along with that, I do not believe that the historic part of the courthouse, once it's moved and the new courthouse is built, will even be visible from this particular corner at the intersection of First and Jefferson. Lastly, in reading the material that was furnished to us, I believe this is a new technology that's being used in this sign, in that the message will not change instantly from one to another. It'll be a gradual transition to a new message. But I'd like to have received some more information on that, Judge. If I'm correct, I'd like to hear more about it. Thank you.
Right. We have the capacity here to let the sign, the message stay up as long as possible. I certainly don't have any interest or desire in trying to make this look like a carnival or, you know, a lot of spinning wheels or anything. I'm just trying to take what is essentially a photograph and let it stay up there for long enough for a significant number of people to see it, and then transition it off. But it's like if you onto the next message, and I don't think it'd be irritating at all. It's like if you go to a basketball game, you see in front of the scorekeeper and others officials who are sitting there. You might see a sign that says PNC Bank, okay? And you're watching the game and you're watching the game. Well, the next time you look at the sign, it might say Stockyards Bank. Well, you didn't even notice a change. I mean, it's all subtle. It's not pounding away at you. It's just presenting information that you can absorb and take and not be put off by. So we're able to leave the same message up all day, or if we have 5 or 6 messages, let them stay up 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. Let the next message transition on, stay up for the same amount of time. I also might add, I had in the thing here too, that we're going to be able to be connected into the National Weather Service, okay? The National Weather Service issues a tornado warning or weather alert it will come up on our sign. And, I think that could be helpful. We don't obviously want any tornadoes here, but, we need alerts. I've also thought that when we have big traffic jams going on 71, we'll be able to put up we'll be able to respond within minutes to any circumstance that might require putting out a message quickly. So we got a backup on 71, big traffic, we can put that message out there. All right. Let's see. All right. Magistrate Hawkins.
Something I forgot to mention as well, in addition to violating our own county ordinance for signs, it also, I did mention it does violate some of the LaGrange sign ordinances in place, and this isn't in the city of LaGrange. But in addition, their sign requirements are to have monument signs. And I don't believe this would fall into the category of a monument sign, and that's what they require in the city of LaGrange. And I think too, what comes to my mind is Berea, Kentucky, which is an amazing artsy community. But right when you get to the doorway, the corridor going into Berea, it does not reflect that there's an amazing city right down the street. And I don't want to make the mistake of just piecemealing things like that together for the betterment of the community. But what it actually does is detracts from the most attractive parts of the community. So I just wanted to mention that too. I don't want LaGrange, sweet historic LaGrange, to fall into just a little bit here, just to make it a little bit here, a little bit there, and then we kind of keep going down the rabbit hole, and now it's not a historic looking amazing Main Street anymore. So I just wanted to mention that too.
Well, Magistrate Harrison.
I'll follow up on that. I think no matter what we put there, it's a great improvement over the gas station that's sat there on that very corner in place of that parking lot for many years. That didn't fit too well either, and it's gone now. So it is historical, but it's also the 21st century. And I think it's about time that we try to catch up with other people. This is new technology. I think it could be very beneficial. The judge is using examples of 71. Well, for the people on the other side of the county, it'd be very helpful when there's some type of incident on US Highway 42, because that in effect is the interstate on that part of the county. So I think it's beneficial all the way around. It could involve some real safety concerns and solving those as well. Thank you.
I don't want to, okay, Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. I want to come at this from a different safety angle, and that is a very dangerous intersection in its own right. And I just think that this would cause another distraction that might add to our traffic accident count. And that's all I had to say about the matter.
Okay, thank you. I want to mention that Magistrate Hawkins, I don't think that we could be accused of violating a rule that we're not subject to. We're not subject to these rules that you're mentioning from LaGrange or planning and zoning. You can only break something if you're subordinate to it. We're not subordinate to those rules, and so we're not able to break it. As far as the historic look of downtown LaGrange, I'm very much in favor of that, and I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but I think I've done as much as anybody trying to bring out the history of this county and this town. So I'm not out to try to wreck or destroy that. I would like people to be able to be communicated with and to have information. I think the coronavirus circumstance is one that we need to pay attention to and be able to communicate with people. As I say, if you want to put this under the category of experiment, I can live with that. As I say, the next county judge can take it out. It doesn't. Nothing here is permanent. But we've redone a lot of things in the downtown area. Everybody seems to like what we have, but not everything is historic, and there's plenty of historic things in the downtown area that could be improved, but haven't been. So, and I think, ma'am, you've had more than your opportunity to speak here today. So, does anybody else have anything on this? Mashadai.
Judge, the problem I've got with it is pretty simple. I really don't know what we're buying. I've not seen a picture of it. I mean, I can say I've seen digital sign, and I want to use one. I got one out in J-Town, there at the main downtown J-Town, and it's pretty. It flashes, and it's kind of, as you said, but carnival-ish looking. When you see digital signs, I think of the magnetron on a football game or something. I don't know what I'm getting here. Am I going to get a sign that's going to be black and white? It's not going to be too ostentatious. It's not going to have a lot of yellows and pinks and greens and all that. And Harrison's already brought up that sign down there by the elementary school, and I agree with him totally. If it's going to look like that, I don't want it.
It won't.
Well, how do we know it won't?
Well, because I'm going to tell you, Bob, it's not going to look like that. So that's how you know. I'm not going to put up a piece of junk in this town.
I'm not saying you won't, but normally we have a.
Because I'm not trying to say the school sign's a piece of junk. They went low budget on that. They got a one color sign down there. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about something a lot better. And
Judge, I'm not saying that's what you would do, and I know that you wouldn't do that. But the piece of paper I've got in front of me doesn't transfer any of that information to me. I'm just taking someone's word that's going to happen. And sometimes, I get a little concerned about that, as you would.
well, I appreciate that, but I voted yes on EMA, dispatch systems for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I bought trucks I didn't see because it was what the department said we needed. I'm not saying you have to take my word for it, but I'm not going to put up something that's not going to be respectful, work well, and be a credit to this community. And if it does go up and I put it up and it turns out not to be that, I'll be the person who takes it down and moves it. But I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be well received, and not by everybody, because you can't get 100% on everybody for anything. But there are plenty of things in this town that in this community that happen. And but I'm most concerned right now about the coronavirus and the communicative skills that we have with that. And I think this, the reaction here is let's say mixed. But it was enthusiastically received over by the River Bluff group. So it shows you, different people have different attitudes about something. And so I, hate to have a, I don't want to have a disagreement about this because I think it's positive, and I hope we can get through that. Measured Hounds.
Yes, Judge. I like the idea of the one at River Bluff. I think that the sign over there would be nice.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Chris.
Okay, how about now? Is that better?
A lot better.
Okay. My issue is where the location is of the sign in LaGrange. I think the one in River Bluff makes a lot of sense in that location. I just don't like the location of the one in LaGrange. I think that's a bad spot for one, but I get the benefit of the signs. I think anything we can do to communicate more with the people is a great idea, whether it's signs or smart 911 or whatever. But I don't like the location of the one in LaGrange.
Were you unhappy with the billboard we had out there?
To be honest with you, Judge, to me, the billboard was ineffective. Its location. It's that the intersection is too busy to put anything else there. If it was either further down 53, which doesn't make much sense, or the other direction on the other side of the railroad tracks, yeah, maybe I could see that. I get it. We don't have any county property over there, but that intersection to me just, it's difficult to drive through, in my opinion.
Mr. Likens.
Yes, Judge. I think it's a great idea. And especially it's not costing us any money right now with the CARES Act money doing this. I think River Bluff really is a great idea. The one in LaGrange, if we buy it and don't like where it's sitting, can't we move it to another location?
Yes. Can be moved. It doesn't have to be a permanent installation. If it turns out not to be as effective or as, well received as what I hope it will be.
But if we buy it right now, it doesn't really cost the county budget any money, and we can always move it somewhere else
That's correct.
down this road.
That's correct. And, advocating for LaGrange, I think is great, but let's advocate for LaGrange instead of, negate things for LaGrange. We've got plenty of buildings on Main Street in LaGrange that need restoration. I don't hear anybody talking about that. There's houses in the downtown area that are not in great shape. I don't hear anybody talking about that. City Place has been an addition to our community. A number of people said that didn't fit the historic blend of the town, but I think we're glad to have it. It's certainly a valuable addition to the community. It's just, we have a certain point of view of some people try to dominate everybody else's point of view. And not everybody has the same perspective on it. So if we've got a motion on the floor in a second, I would like to have this approved today. I think it will be good and be something valuable to the community. But and I think the health department needs it to help communicate to people. Magistrate Hawkins.
I'd like to move to table this until we can see a design.
Well, Lester, do you have any picture or anything you can bring up?
I don't think I can share my screen, Judge. But I mean, if I may speak for a moment, is that okay with everybody? Okay. So to clarify a few things, if you printed a digital banner and hung it out there on the corner, high quality, high resolution, about a farmer's market or a festival or whatever's going on in town, you could have that same banner on this. It's like 2.2 trillion color possibilities. So if whatever you create, you can put on there. So it would be like you got the capability of holding the message all day if you want, or you can change it every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So you can do a lot with it, but if you don't wish to, make it all flashy and trashy, then therefore you don't have to. And I get that. I totally get that. Also about my computer keeps wanting to do something crazy here. About the distractions. So the actual, and I've got a copy of it somewhere. There's like a 200-page study that the National Federal Highway Department done about distraction, because there was a big uproar about digital billboards on interstates. So they actually put special glasses on people and they drove around and they measured how much those distracted. Well, they're not changing. So they change. A digital billboard on interstates change every 8 seconds. And I hardly ever see one change. I'll be driving down the road And I'll say that's a digital billboard. So 8 seconds is even a long time on the interstate when you're going at 70 miles an hour. So as far as it holding for 5-10 minutes, it's just going to be like a banner hanging there. And it auto dims at night, and you can adjust the brightness settings, and we can work with you all on all that. But it's a black square box with 2 poles under it. It's a 5x10 box that you all can, with our software, send it whatever you want it to display. And so if anybody's got any questions for me, and I don't want to overstep any boundaries here.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you're explaining it. The design is not the sign. The design is on the sign.
Right.
In other words, if I mean, here's something I put out at one time. That it says Oldham County parking, but the design is it's no different than you can't say what's the design of this this picture here right now that I'm a square in. It's not the design is in the picture. It's not the thing holding the picture. It's what the picture is in. So I've played around with this before. Here's right at the corner there. Well, decided against that. I don't think that's a good spot for that. More people can see it from the Jefferson and Main intersection, see it clearly, understand it.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
I know we have a motion on the floor, but since Lester is on the line here, he mentioned the software. Is your software, is it plug and play or is it proprietary?
It is proprietary to the Watchfire brand LED sign. It don't work on any other brand, no other brand software. It's called Ignite, and they're made in Danville, Illinois. It's been in business for 80 years. You can do as much or as little as you want. I mean, they use the same. Watchfire's like one of the largest digital sign manufacturers. They're one of only 2 American-made digital sign manufacturers. That's the reason we are a dealer for those people and have been for over 20 years. But you can. So I hope I answered your question.
Well, you understand my concern between proprietary and plug and play, and sometimes that gets you into trouble, especially if the company goes out. Something goes out and the company no longer makes that particular piece. Then all of a sudden you've got what the judge said. You got a big black box sitting on 2 poles.
That is true.
That can't do anything.
And I've seen some companies go out, but I can promise you they've been there 80 years and they're not going anywhere compared to a lot of the foreign made signs that one week they're making signs and next week they're making toasters. And I've seen it happen. So this is real. They got 400 employees and it's not a cloud-based software. So even if something, God forbid, was to happen, you're not counting on somebody keeping your information in the cloud. You're actually controlling it through a 4G cellular modem, and that is through Verizon. It's a lifetime support through Verizon. There's no monthly fee, and that's how that works. A lot of cities use them. My hometown from back in East Kentucky has one. And they've actually used it for Amber Alerts. So the fire department can get on there and post a picture, of a silver alert or an Amber Alert. So that technology of being able to communicate with it is pretty handy.
Okay. Magistrate Harrison, I mean.
Thank you, Judge. I recognize there is a motion that was made by Magistrate Hawkins, but that particular motion is improper and does not require any action to be taken by this body.
Okay. I hesitate to bring this up because I don't want to get everybody worked up here. Okay. I'd like to have at least a majority agreement to go ahead and try this. If it doesn't work, we'll take it out. If it turns out to be a problem, we can move it. We don't have any money invested in it. Actually, everything has been donated to do this. So the risk that we have here is minimal. I do have an executive order in effect since March 17th, which would allow me to move ahead with this without agreement. I don't really want to do that. It's not, you all know me well enough to know that I'm not somebody that tries to bludgeon something in. But I think this is important for the communication, particularly of the coronavirus information, but I think it'll be used for other, trying to, get maximum mileage out of an opportunity here for our community. So I would appreciate it if we could give this a try. River Bluff, I don't think's any issue. LaGrange has some questions about it. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work for 6 months, we'll find another place to move it. But I think to shoot it down before we've even tried it, particularly when it's not costing us anything, is is not the right way to go.
Judge, may I make a suggestion to you? Judge,
Yes, sir.
may I make a suggestion?
Uh-huh.
Why don't you split your motion up to where, put the one on 42 first, let people see what you're going to do, and I think you'll get a different. I would think I would be much more open to see what you're doing once I see it done. So if you went with one and then moved to the second one, wouldn't that be? Lester could tell you how quickly he can move on this, and that way you get one there. You're not having a hard time getting that one placed. And then if that would look for the people like me, they're not sure what we're doing, what we're getting. I know what we're doing. I'm not sure what we're getting. And that way would clear up any questions.
Well,
That might probably only be a couple of weeks delay. Lester can answer that better than I.
Currently, they build these as they are ordered, and it's probably in reality a 4 to 6 week, timetable to get that in and up. It's not, they're not sitting on a shelf because they make 5 different resolutions, and I think there's over 1,400 different size possibilities in that. So they're not, sitting there like that. Also, if I might add, and once again, I don't want to overstep anything here, is that we quoted this with thinking that they would be 2 of them. We have cut the absolute bottom out of this to do this. So to do one, I would have to go back and seek advice, or I would have to get permission to honor that.
right.
And I probably can, but I am a sales rep. I am not the owner, and I don't want to overpromise anything.
Well, I wouldn't think the increase would be more than having to move one if we decided it had to be moved. So that's my opinion.
Well, I want to compliment Commonwealth has been very aggressive on this. Commonwealth, Watchfire, Commonwealth's product, and the Daktronic are the 2 leaders in this industry. And Watchfire went very hard to give us a very, very good price on this. If you look through the bids, they won on virtually every size that we quoted there. And there may have been 1 or 2 spots where somebody else snuck in lower, but I'm not about to buy something like this from California or someplace where, somebody isn't in the neighborhood who can take care of any issues that may come up. And I don't expect any, but I don't want to run across the country to find somebody to do that either, so anyway. All right. So So we got a motion and a second on the floor. Um, Any further comments on this? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
1, 2, 3, how many is that?
Do a roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Logston,
Yes.
Magistrate Hawkins,
No.
Magistrate Greenwell,
No.
Magistrate Tice,
No.
Magistrate Likens,
Yes.
Magistrate Harrison,
Yes.
Magistrate Hounds,
No.
Magistrate Dye,
no.
Judge Bogle.
Yes. I guess the motion fails 5 to 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And based on that, I'm going to announce here now that I'm going to implement my executive order of March 27th. Under the executive order, I'm given the emergency order provided in KRS 39A.100 subsections, subsection 2. And I will read that to you, 39A.2. In the event of an occurrence of threatened or impending occurrence of any situation or events contemplated by KRS 39A.1010, 39A, and .020, in which the judgment of the local chief executive officer is of such severity or complexity as to require the exercise of extraordinary emergency measures, the county judge shall have and that may exercise for the period of the state of emergency as long as it exists or continues the following emergency powers: to order immediate purchase of rental of contract for or otherwise procure without regard to procurement codes or budget requirements the goods and services essential for protection of public health and safety, or to maintain or restore essential public services. So in my judgment, this information is needed right now, as soon as we can get in there to communicate about the coronavirus through the auspices of the health department. So I'm going to go ahead and buy these two things, and you all, 4 or 5 of you, stand in opposition to it. I'm sorry we couldn't get a consensus today. I will say that when the coronavirus is passed, if the thing proves to be that abhorrent to significant number of people in our community, I'll take it down and move it somewhere else. But in the meantime, I want to be able to communicate with our people. I think it's important to the success of the health department and the future vaccination program that's going to get rolled out sometime here in the spring. So I'm sorry that to do that, but that's the way I feel about it. So, next item on the agenda is the payables, and accept a motion to pay the bills when you're ready.
Judge, I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions about the bills here? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the hazardous mitigation plan update, and that will be from Olivia Rancine from Kipton. Are you there, Olivia?
Hi.
Okay.
Yes, sure. If I think my video has been turned off, I can't. It says unable to start video. I guess the host has stopped it, or I would show you my face. Okay, I can start my video now. All right. Hi, I'm Olivia Rancine. I'm with the Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency, and I was going to share my screens. Just let me see if I can do that. Awesome. All right, I'm just going to give a brief presentation to y'all today, and I will ask for questions at the end. Okay, 1 second. All right. If this load also. Okay, great. So I am with KIPTA, and if y'all are unfamiliar with KIPTA, we are the Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency, and we have about 75 employees and do serve a lot of different functions in the region. So we are the Metropolitan Planning Organization for for 7 counties in Kentucky and 2 counties in Indiana. We also offer geographic information services, so mapping services to a lot of the communities in our region. We have a large social services division, which handles Medicaid and Medicare enrollment, as well as programs for older adults and those with disabilities. And then my division, we're the Community and Economic Development Division. You may have seen my coworker, Hayden, in the past. She typically attends Oldham County's meetings. So my division, we handle one of the many things that we handle is hazard mitigation planning, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with what a hazard mitigation plan is hazard mitigation plans are required for communities under the Stafford Act of 2001. Essentially what they do is they assess the likelihood that a natural disaster or other hazard will occur and formulate how each of our communities can better prepare for natural disasters. So we do this planning at the regional level, which includes Bullitt, Henry, Oldham, Shelby, Spencer, and Trimble counties. We do it at the regional level because our counties typically face the same disasters and hazards. As we know, floods and tornadoes don't typically respect county lines. And essentially what comes out of this process, of this planning process, is resiliency and mitigation projects that will be eligible for FEMA funding. And we update the plan every 5 years. So our last plan was from 2016. So now we're working on the 2021 update. And the most important piece to remember is that our communities in Oldham County has to have an updated hazard mitigation plan on file in order to be eligible for many of the FEMA grants. So this is an essential piece of grant eligibility following a disaster. So what does a hazard plan consist of? So the first part of the hazard mitigation plan is the risk assessment. So the risk assessment basically describes disasters and threats in our region. It identifies community assets that are at risk, analyzes these risks and summarizes vulnerability. And then that's linked to a mitigation strategy. And the mitigation strategy uses the risk assessment to basically ascertain what are some goals, like long-term outcomes, and specific actions and strategies we can take in order to combat the risks and hazards that our community faces. And so this process is largely guided by community outreach, interviews, and meetings. So why do our communities and why does Oldham County need to participate? As I mentioned before, it's very important because it makes our counties eligible for FEMA grants. This plan has to be updated every 5 years according to federal law. If it's not updated, FEMA does not technically have to award our communities grants. They have to have an updated plan on file. So that's important to remember. Also, why it's important for Oldham County to participate is because it helps break the cycle. We have a cycle in this country of kind of having a disaster, and then we rebuild, and then there's another disaster, and then we rebuild. We see a lot of that, going on in California with their wildfires, where there's a wildfire, a couple of years ago, then people rebuilt, and then there were wildfires again this year, and people are planning to rebuild again. That's not a sustainable way of approaching disasters. And it just creates spiraling costs. So mitigation tries to intervene in the in-between and reduce essentially the damage that natural disasters can cause. And it's a huge cost saving measure in the sense that for every dollar invested in mitigation, an average of $6 is saved. And this hazard mitigation plan helps make mitigation projects happen and helps formulate those projects that can be awarded FEMA grants. Also, this plan and why our communities need to participate is because it will give precise actions and projects. FEMA and the state of Kentucky are looking for very specific actions and projects in this hazard mitigation plan, and they've shifted their policy more towards this lens of having very specific projects. And this is really a great asset for our communities because when there is eligibility for FEMA grants, when FEMA grants come online, or when there's a disaster, we can simply reference this plan for potential mitigation projects that can receive funding. Instead of having to formulate new project ideas, we simply refer to the plan, and it's updated every 5 years, so it's kept pretty current. Also, a really essential reason why Oldham County needs to participate and is because of in-kind donations. So KIPTA writes this entire plan. We handle the planning process. We do all public participation, oversight, and project management. However, we don't do that for free. FEMA gives us money to do that because our communities commit to in-kind donations. So our communities don't have to pay for the plan itself. They simply have to commit to participating, to attending meetings, to having meetings with us one-on-one. And for example, we'll go into this more later, but today's meeting, while I'm speaking, this counts as part of the in-kind time donation from Oldham County. So that's really essential, is that's how we get this plan paid for and how we make this plan happen. And it's required for our counties. And what kind of in-kind time requirement are you looking at? About 92 hours per county over the next year, or about 550 hours for the region. So just as a reference. So how can communities meet this in-kind time requirement? Well, again, one way is through this fiscal court meeting by attending today, and I'll have you all fill out a brief attendance form. That counts towards our in-kind requirement. We also are hosting regional hazard mitigation and planning council meetings. We just had our first kickoff meeting last week, and we will be having our next meeting in March, likely to be virtual. We shall see. We get in-kind, whoever attends from those counties, their time counts. We'll also be reaching out for one-on-one meetings over Zoom, over the phone, or in person with community planners, engineers, public works, and local officials about concerns they have about disasters in their area, and those one-on-one meetings can count. I'll also be attending the LEPC meetings in Oldham County, and I will be presenting about our progress, and that can count as well towards the in-kind requirement. We've also, and I'll go into this in a minute, we've created an online portal for our communities and local officials like yourself to access materials about disasters in their region, and also provide us feedback on issues and hazardous issues they've had in their communities. And you can track that time through a time tracking form we've created, and that time can count. And we also have surveys that we'd like for y'all to take as well. So how can our communities help with the HMP? So as I was mentioning, we have a really cool feedback app that we developed. And the point of that application is for our community members and local officials and local government employees to identify local vulnerabilities and opportunities. We collect a lot of our disaster and mitigation data from the state. However, it's not necessarily localized. So say if you have a smaller local issue, such as a road that always floods, that's not going to be captured on state data, but that might be an important piece of a mitigation plan, or might be a potential project area. So we really need local participation in order to identify those vulnerabilities. Also, reviewing our materials, we'll be releasing information on more and more information on risks and hazards in Oldham County and our surrounding communities. And so your review is really important, as well as answering our surveys to understand your perception of hazards, suggesting potential projects. And then at the end of the process, once we have many projects and actions together, we ask our communities to rank potential projects and actions to what should be prioritized. So that's a really essential part for our communities to fill as well. And so, you know, I've been talking about hazards and disasters very generally, but like what specifically do our communities face? And we have several. These are the hazards that are covered in our hazard mitigation plan. So that's dam failure, drought, earthquake, extreme cold, extreme heat, hail, wildfire, flood, sinkhole, landslide, severe storm, severe winter storm, and tornado. So some of those obviously occur more often than others, but they all pose a threat to Oldham County and to the KIPTA communities at large. And so how does the hazard mitigation plan address these hazards? The primary component of the hazard mitigation plan is the risk assessment, which consists of the hazard ID, the vulnerability assessment, and the capability assessment. So the hazard ID essentially identifies those hazards that we just talked about, and it profiles them based on where they've been located in the past, and potential vulnerabilities. So we pull a lot from state data, past disaster declarations, GIS analysis, and existing plans. And then we go into the vulnerability assessment of each hazard. So a vulnerability assessment is both qualitative and quantitative typically. And vulnerability assessments look different for each type of disaster. So for example, one of the hazards that we face in Kentucky and in Oldham County is extreme heat. As we know, it can get deathly hot here over the summer, and can be dangerous for our older adults, for people who don't have access to air condition, for those who are homeless. And so that is a huge social vulnerability. Extreme heat doesn't have that much impact on, you know, property damage or things of that nature. So we focus on the social vulnerability side of that. Versus flooding, as we know, flooding can cause severe property damage. So for flooding, what KIPTA does is we do an analysis of the buildings in Oldham County, where they are in terms of the floodplain, and what are the values of those buildings and how much can that be impacted by potential flooding scenarios. So that's more of a quantitative look, whereas a qualitative look is more like social vulnerabilities. And then finally, the last part of the risk assessment is the capability assessment. Essentially what the capability assessment looks at is, you know, what resources are in place to implement mitigation projects, where are there gaps in capability, and then all of this comes together, the hazard identification, the vulnerability assessment, and the capability assessment, to create the entire risk assessment. And the risk assessment helps determine what goals our communities want to adopt and what potential projects we want to take on as a community and what we should focus on. So how do I learn more about hazards in my community and Oldham County face? I just want to do a quick demo of our website, which is a great resource for our elected officials. So it is at kiptahazardmitigation.org. I will also send out this site. This is our home screen. Right here, we've got a YouTube video explaining how to use the site, but I'll just do a quick overview. If you go to About, you can learn more about the KIPTA hazard mitigation plan itself. So, you know, what is a hazard mitigation plan? Who leads the plan? This is like an accordion structure, so you simply press for more information and then press again for it to collapse. And then we have substantial information on each disaster, and where they've been located or where they pose a threat in all of our KIPTA communities. So example, if I were to look at flooding, which typically is the disaster that we face in the Kentucky-Yama region, I can see here the floodplains for the KIPTA region. And then there's more information down here on floodplains and flooding. Again, just pressing to see more information and pressing again to collapse. And then down here, I've created an interactive map to look at where housing overlaps with floodplains. As we can see, Bullitt County might have some problems down here, but you can see what the percentage of housing units are that are in floodplains, which is pretty cool simply by hovering your mouse. So for example, I'll just show you one more. So for example, we have one on dam failure. And dam failure is another interactive map where you can go to your county and simply see, you know, we see all the dams that are located in Oldham County. We can see their ratings and we can hover to see more information about them, which is pretty neat. We can also zoom in and zoom out. And we can go down here for more information. So that's pretty cool. Each of these hazards sections will be updated as we collect more information, but that's kind of a starting point. And then we have our meetings dates are accessed through this page. Then we have this really cool feedback map, which I was alluding to earlier. We created this feedback application for our KIPTA counties. And so essentially, you know, if you know of a road that floods a lot, or an area that has issues, or if you have a project idea, you can just simply tell us about it via this feedback map. So you can see some issues I've put here as examples. So you simply go to submit a report, select a category. So say I have project idea. So project idea related to flooding or whatever. And then I simply find it on the map, or I can simply enter an address. So say if I wanna look over here and say it's over in LaGrange. I can zoom in even more if I want to. I click to add a point, press report it, and then go back and I can see it on the map with my comment, which is pretty cool. And this is a way we're going to be collecting localized knowledge from our communities like Oldham County. So that is available on our website. We also have an instructional video if you need it, and more instructions below. And then finally, the last part of our website is surveys and time tracking. So we have an initial survey here that we highly recommend that y'all fill out. It's just to gauge your understanding and opinions on disaster preparedness and disaster projects in your community. And then we also have a time tracking form, which you can click on. So say if you spend any time reviewing those disaster pages I showed you, or you go on our mitigation feedback app or anything, or spend a time on surveys, you can enter the time that you started reviewing materials, time that you stopped reviewing materials, basic information. If you reviewed it a couple times, you can review, you can add extra times and then press submit. That way we can capture that time and it can count as part of your community's in-kind donation. So that's a really cool tool that we have that's available for our communities to use. And that's kind of one of the ways that we've adapted during COVID. Again, I'll send out this website, but it's kiptahazardmitigation.org. And then just, I'm sure you're wondering, when will this process and this plan be completed by? Early fall of 2021. So actually it's typically about a 1.5 or a 2-year long process to write this plan. However, FEMA is a slow agency. And while we submitted our application for our communities almost 2 years ago, we didn't hear back from them until September of this year. And so we've had to get started a little later in the game, which is why we really need participation so we can meet that in-kind requirement and get everything submitted to FEMA by fall of 2021. Just some tasks that I would really appreciate y'all doing. If you could review the website, and if you spend any time reviewing, or take time out of your day to fill out the initial survey, or fill out the feedback form, please fill out our time tracker form so we can capture the time you spent, so we can count that as Oldham County's in-time donation. If you know of anyone else who should be included or contacted in this process, please let me know. If you would like to have a one-on-one meeting with me over Zoom or on the phone, please feel free to reach out. This is my contact information, and I'll also share that with the judge as well. And one last thing also, I would appreciate if everyone who's attending the meeting today could put their name and email address in the chat box. You can send that directly to me or just put it in the open chat box. I'm going to be sending out a quick form just to say for your name, email address, and an online signature to say that you attended the presentation today. We've had to adapt to FEMA's requirements since we can't do this meeting in person. And we need to capture the time that y'all spent here today. And I'll also be putting that form in the chat box as well. So I am open to any questions or concerns. Again, I'll put that link actually right now in the chat box.
All right, does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask Olivia? All right, well, I think your presentation was very complete, and we appreciate that, and look forward to working with you to further identify the issues and opportunities through this program here. And I don't know if anybody, did you put something in the
I did. So the form is in the chat box.
It's not coming up on my thing here.
Oh, it's not. It should. Did I? Oh, you know what? I didn't put it to everyone for some reason. Let me try this again. This should be. The form is there. I'll also email it out as well.
Well, we can. What we'll do? We can have Denise will email you everybody's address who was on this here today. Okay. How would that be?
All right.
Sounds
good.
Work out easier for all concerned.
Sounds good to me. I appreciate it, Judge Vogel. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Right, thank you, Olivia.
Thanks.
The next item on today's agenda is to do with our 2020 EMA program funds. Jerry Nart is here to discuss that.
Good afternoon, Judge. Good afternoon, Magistrates, Madam Clerk, Mr. Carter. You should have a copy of this. Actually, it's changed. It's a biennium now. The current contract that you see in front of you that I'm asking for your approval to have the judge sign for us is the same one since I've been in the office. So that's 3 years. It's just the same one, except I guess FEMA's getting a little more practical since I've been inundated. The contract will be for 2 years as opposed to just one, with the same amount being each year. And that's the supplemental funds that come through FEMA, through the state, to Oldham County to help fund the Office of Emergency Management. You'll see that $3 million contract amount is marked on that front page, and that, again, explaining as I have in the past, that's the contract, again, from FEMA to the state. I've been told that our amount will be the same as it has been this past year and the year before, which is the $29,918.39. That it will remain constant for that. Just a little background: 2017, if you will, was $27,394. 2016 was $29,254. So it was going up basically $2,000 a year until 2018, where it came to a little bit of a screeching halt because of all the hurricanes, and now we have COVID. But we're to get, again, the same amount, $29,918 for each year over this biennium. Now that is also subject to, as we've been talking, that this is based on a formula in Frankfurt based on population, and that's why the census is so important. And hopefully we might see some adjustment for that after the census is all tabulated and once this biennium is over. That's all I have as far as presentation wise. If I have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Jerry? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to sign this document?
So moved, Judge.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And Denise, if I will, make sure the judge signs in blue ink, if you will. The state gets a little aggravated.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
All right, on personnel appointments here, we would like to recommend the appointment of new hire Clayton Reeves to the police department. He's a 5-year lateral transfer officer at $25.06 an hour, effective December 7th.
Make that motion, Judge.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Greenwell.
Yes, where does he come from? Where was he at previously?
He currently works for the Veterans Administration, and he's been a Louisville Police Department officer for 10 years. He's a retired Army ordnance, soldier. Was in the Army for 20 or 22 years and retired. And then he came out, went to Louisville Police, had an opportunity to go to the federal service with the Veterans Administration, but he'd really like to get back into community policing, and applied here. We like him a lot. We think he'll do a real good job. And he lives over in Jeffersonville.
Thank you.
And and are there any other questions? Right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Board appointments now. First appointment, I'd like to reappoint Kevin Nuss to the ambulance taxing district for a term that would go on to November 20th of 2022. Kevin, obviously you all know Kevin. He's been a really strong addition to the ambulance taxing board, having come from dispatch, understands that, and the budget side of the business as well. So I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The next item would be to reappoint Cheryl Saban to the Tourism Commission for a term that would expire November 21st, 2023. I think many of you know Cheryl. She's been in the hospitality business here in Oldham County, and also real estate. She's been a good addition to the Tourism Commission and helps bring good ideas to that board. And I'll make that recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. All right, pardon me. Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. I didn't make this comment earlier or ask this question because I did not want it to reflect on either one of these people. But do we have any guidance on term limits? I notice we do an awful lot of reappointment. We got new people coming into the county every year. It seems like maybe we could benefit by getting some of these new people on boards and commissions.
Well, right. I try not to reappoint someone more than twice. I won't say it doesn't happen, but I've got 20, I think 25 or 26, excuse me, boards and commissions that appoint people to. You try to find people who are have some aptitude and interest in that area. It's not always easy. A lot of people will. We have people who have been appointed, and they don't stick. They have to find out the meetings wearing them down and are in conflict with other things they have to do. So there's a tendency, I think, to, if someone is doing a good job, to let them continue at least for the 2 terms. And, but I'm very willing to listen to names of other individuals, to hear from magistrates and who they'd like to recommend. It's not a science. It's a little bit of a treadmill in the sense that there are people coming up all the time, and I do like the idea of spreading opportunity out among as many people in the community as you can, but it's not easy to find people who will stick with a volunteer position. Sometimes they express initial enthusiasm, but after a year or so, they get worn down and want to get out from under it. So, but I think your point's well taken. We do, and I'm certainly happy to have. I have a couple of names, that have been sent to me for the Planning Commission and other boards. Tourism was one that I don't get too many recommendations for. We generally have, and there are some limitations on some of these, on who you can be and where you live, and it's you have to fit into the square block as well, or what the requirements are. So I hope that answers you a little bit there.
Yes, thank
Okay. All right. Did we have anybody that wanted to make a public comment here today in our circumstance? I don't know if did anybody send us a question on the chat or anything that we invited to do so, other than the lady from KIPTA, Olivia?
I have a comment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Out here in my district, out on 71 between Crestwood and the Jefferson County line, as you all may have been through this already, they are doing a lot of work on the road widening and such. So if for those who don't know, you can go to this website. I'll give it to you now. It's very simple. It's IMOVEKY.com. It has it's a nicely done website by KYTC. It shows you some of the things that they're doing, talks about the times that there's going to be shutdowns. They've had a lot of shutdowns, a lot of traffic backing up back towards LaGrange and back into Jefferson County. So if the other item is, if you need, we all know the Smart 911, they can advise when there are backups if you're signed up for it. And if you have people that that work in Jefferson, or especially like Brent in your area, or Mike, or Chris, they've renamed those camera system in Jefferson County. It's called SIG, S-I-G, alert.com. If you have not been to that, you can pick it up on your iPhone. Very comprehensive. They'll tell you the speed limits going both north and south on I-71, and it's live action. So you don't have to see a block. You can actually look at the speeds and tell them how fast they're going, how fast the traffic is moving. So it's something new that I found. And again, that's SIG, S-I-G, Sam, Ida, George, alert.com. And the last thing is, I hope some of you all of you all will send the pictures from Eden Parkway. That is some of the initial construction that started out there for part of the Trilogy project. I will be getting pictures from time to time and send them over to you. As you may have noticed, it's very muddy out there. And unless you have a pickup truck that you want to get, or a car that you want to get really muddy, stay back off of LaGrange Parkway. That's where they're kind of staging up and moving towards the Rawlings Company. So that's all I have.
Okay. I guess we'll begin. You'll be the first person on public comment then, or on ending the meeting here today with your comments. All right, Magistrate Hawkins, you want to be next?
Sure. I just wanted to mention that in the Oldham Era this week, I wrote an article regarding our Parks Committee, and I submitted that over the weekend, and it should be out when you get your paper, your Oldham Era, Thursday or Friday. And why that's important for this week is this week that paper goes out to everybody in the county. So it's going to be a courtesy paper, a way to check out the paper if you don't already subscribe to it. It's like $40 a year. So it's pretty inexpensive to pay those reporters and the distribution of the paper. Anyway, I wrote an article in there, and it's covering two things that I can cover here to get it out on this platform as well. The Parks Committee has, along with Bree from Planning and Zoning, put together a really comprehensive survey. And the survey can be accessed through a direct link. The direct link is oldhamparks.com. So it's OLDHAM, oldhamparks.com. It's not a website. It's just an easy link to take you to the JOT form, which will allow you to take the survey. The survey should take under 10 minutes. Another thing I'm asking for in the article is to email me ideas, big, small ideas you have that you'd like to see in your county parks and recreation system. I personally think it's a vital asset to the quality of life in a community, and I want to know if that's important to the rest of the county as well. Magistrate Tice, Magistrate Likens, and I are on that committee along with our director, Gary Parsons, and we'd love to hear your feedback on Schombeck Park specifically with the survey, or email me, I should say, and email me please with any ideas you have of the park system in general. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, Magistrate Logston.
He's muted.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, Magistrate Greenwell.
Nothing, Judge.
Okay, Magistrate Tice.
Yes, I don't have anything to comment, but I would like to direct one question to our counsel, John Carter. My question is what is the validity of the executive order that you enacted a minute ago on the sign? I'd like to hear from our counsel. Is that a legitimate executive order, or do we have any problems with it? I can abide with whatever it is, but I would like to have his opinion.
I'm not sure. It's the first time I've heard of the issue when it came up here. It's a question of whether or not the county judge executive has emergency powers to spend county money to erect a sign for the sole purpose of notifying people of coronavirus issues in the county. And whether that's sufficient or not to invoke his executive powers, I'm not sure. The Supreme Court seems to think you can do anything. We're on pretty much lockdown. We only do Zoom cases now, so I would suspect that he may have.
Would it be fair for me to ask you to check into that?
I'll take a look at it. But I don't think there's any simple answer to it.
Well, obviously, if it is legitimate, that's fine. We go forward. If it's not, obviously, I don't want to drag anything out forever, but I would like to have a lawyer's opinion or a professional opinion on it. And that's where I'm coming from. No disregard to you, Judge. It's just, I think we should ask that.
Well, I think fiscal court needs to ask me to do that.
Ask who?
Ask me to do that?
Could I make a motion then? Is that in order? That we ask our county attorney, John Carter, pursue that question?
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
I'll second that if that's what Mr. Carter needs.
All right, we can have discussion on it. I think It's all right. We can go into it. I think I read very clearly here. It says in section 39A.101, when there's a situation which in the judgment of the local executive officer, not the county attorney, but the local executive officer is severe enough to require exercising these emergency powers, I have the authority to do so. Not the, I'm sure that it's a point of irritation for some people here, but I'll say this and I'll back up slightly on what I said earlier. And I'll say this, I'm going to order 2 of these signs because nobody objected when I took the $25,000 and put it into the relief fund for the COVID virus. There was no question about that. This is no different. It's a response to this. I will put up the River Bluffs. I'm going to buy both these signs because I think we're getting a sharp deal, and I'll put up the River Bluff sign so everybody can see how that goes first. I'm going to order them both at the same time, but and I will accept suggestions on where some other sign might go. This is a single-faced sign. It doesn't need to be on the street. You don't see both sides going down. So if somebody says put it down to jail, you could only see one side going by there unless you had it facing out. But if there is some other place in the county besides what I've identified, I'm certainly willing to hear about it. River Bluff is not a controversial spot. They're excited to get it there. And but I recognize that some people think this is not a good spot in LaGrange. Okay, we can have a difference of opinion on that, and I said I'd take it down if it didn't work, but apparently that wasn't good enough. But I'll still be glad to, between now and whenever these are delivered and the other one put up and everybody look at it to see what it looks like. We won't do anything with the second unit. And if someone has a better spot that it can go, and I can't hardly believe there isn't some spot in this county, that it wouldn't be beneficial to people. I think the LaGrange intersection, Jefferson and 53, there's 5,000 to 10,000 people a day go through that intersection. And so to me, that's a good place to communicate with people. But I can recognize the concern. I'm not oblivious to it, but I think the ability to communicate with people, particularly in regard to this coronavirus, is paramount. That everybody get the information correctly and as soon as they can. Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you, Judge. If I understood correctly, Mr. Carter's statement said that the question involved whether the judge executive under this executive order had the authority to spend county funds, quote unquote. I did not think we were spending any county funds on the signage. Could you correct that, please?
Well, I guess that's a technical matter there. I mean, the Department of Local Government has approved this as a CARES Act expense. I got that from Billy Johnson. I've got it in writing. The other money was donated by the Head Trust, Ironman Foundation, and KIPTA to us. So I guess once it comes into our coffers, it's, they're not writing the checks. They've written the checks. We've deposited them in our general account, and it's our money. So, but it was given for a purpose. And so I would say at that point, it's our money.
Well, but it's not based on tax revenue from the residents and the taxpayers of the county. Is that correct?
I mean,
it's outside money.
No, I mean, it's all outside money. We're not spending any county money on this.
That's what I understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Judge?
Magistrate Hawkins, better hand up.
I'm sorry.
Isn't CARES money from the government, and wouldn't that also be taxpayer funded money?
Well, I'm sure it is, but I think Magistrate Harrison's point is that this money is not coming out of any money from our local property tax, insurance premium tax, or any other direct revenue sources we have from Oldham County residents.
That is correct.
Magistrate die.
I did the math on that, and is the money, whoever it comes from, head trust or CARES or whatever, is that going to cover the expense of the installation, of dropping a power line, putting a meter in, and all of that?
Yes, and at least on the LaGrange oriented sign, we have the $39,900 and some dollars, and the cost of LaGrange with installation, I think, is 32 or something like that. We've got some overage there, and that overage can be used over at River Bluff. We have to run a power line at River Bluff.
So you got to drop a line and put a meter in. So that's not cheap, but it's not that expensive either. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Magistrate Tice.
Yes, my question is about the legitimacy of the executive order. It's not where the money comes from or whatever. And that's what I'm asking County Attorney Carter to look into, or if it's valid. And so let's do the vote. Because I made a motion, we'll have to vote on to whether it goes forward or not.
All right. Denise, you want to call the roll?
Certainly. Magistrate Tice,
Yes.
Magistrate Greenwell,
Yes.
Magistrate Dye,
Yes.
Magistrate Hounds,
Yes.
Magistrate Likens,
Brent, you're muted.
No.
Magistrate Harrison,
No.
Magistrate Hawkins,
Yes.
Magistrate Logston,
Michael, you're muted.
No.
Judge Vogel.
No. Okay, motion carries 5-4. All right, we'll go on with Magistrate Harrison.
Does this mean that we're on hold until Mr. Carter makes a decision or recommendation? And how long is that going to delay the process?
I don't consider it on hold, but I'll talk with him about it. I mean, it's not going to be too difficult to look at that. I don't think. As I say, if this is inappropriate, then the money that was put into the coronavirus risk relief fund by Oldham County earlier this year is inappropriate as well. And I think Magistrate Hawkins and Magistrate Dye, Magistrate Hounds, you've all attended meetings and spent that money. So, and you didn't put up any objection to it at all. So, in fact, you wanted to be on the committee, so I see no difference. It's just a matter of who likes a sign and who doesn't. That's what it boils down to here. All right, Magistrate, who hadn't spoken here? Magistrate Likens. Do you have any? Do you have any closing
Yes.
comments?
We've all been through this historic election. Just wanted to say that we need to remember we're Americans first, Democrats and Republicans second. So I hope we get along with that. I will take both digital signs over in my district if you want to put them over there. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving next week. And my fourth question, fourth comment, are we still having the employee appreciation luncheon or dinner this year?
No, we're not going to be able to have it this year, but I'm trying to work on another idea that, we would be able to, show our appreciation for employees in another way.
Okay,
But
let us know.
we're
Thanks.
not going to be able to have a large scale gathering of any kind.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. All right, Magistrate Harrison, have you been on yet?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have any comments today on military observance days, but I am somewhat upset and confused over Veterans Day recognition last week. Apparently, we've managed in this country to confuse Veterans Day with Memorial Day. One is for the living, one is for the dead. But it seems like nationally, we observe Veterans Day at national cemeteries. We even recognize persons currently serving in our military as veterans. They are not. They're not a veteran until they serve and they receive an honorable discharge or its equivalent. And I think it's a bit of a slap in the face to the veteran community. It somewhat waters down and dilutes the recognition that we're deserving of by mixing it with Memorial Day. Memorial Day, that's in memory of those who served. The Veterans Day is in recognition of those who served. There is a distinct difference, and I think it should continue to be so. Thank you.
All right, Magistrate Hounds.
Yes, Judge. I witnessed something yesterday that is still troubling me. And I was leaving my house, and one of our Oldham County police officers was doing his job with a person. I don't know if they were pulled over, if it was a motorist assist or whatever. And two folks drove past the police officer, yelled obscenities at the police officer. And if he wasn't doing the job that he was doing, he probably would have turned around and gone after these folks. I know we've got a lot of issues in this country, and kind of along the same lines as Magistrate Likens, we need to all be Americans and be together. The police are there to help people. If you have an issue with a police officer, let me know. I'm sure we can talk about it, but I don't think it's necessary to have people driving around making comments and obscene gestures at a police officer who was sitting there doing his job. He did nothing to these people that I know of. And I even called the officer last night, and he said, I didn't know who those people were. And anyway, I just think that we need to be respectful of the police, and they have a very, very difficult job to do, and we don't need to make it any more difficult than it already is. I too would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Please remember to wear your mask, social distance the best you can. I understand everybody wants to celebrate, but I want my kids to go to school. And I think there's other people, probably myself and Magistrate Hawkins are the only ones that have kids that are in this position. But I think we want our kids to go to school and not do NTI at our houses. So please do your best to try to help out the spread of the coronavirus, and wear your mask and wash your hands as much as you can, and think about others, and try to be respectful when you're out and about to give them their space that they need. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that pretty much brings our meeting to a conclusion today. I don't know if I have anything else that I really want to say today. Is there a motion we adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.